Hello, I'm Michael Kennoy and welcome to my vodcast on managing sports organisations. Within the next few minutes, I'll be talking to you about how sporting organisations use the concept of control, looking in particular at the International Olympic Committee and how they attempt to control both their internal stakeholders, such as their members, as well as their external stakeholders with whom they collaborate to create the Olympic Games. To do this, I'll begin by giving a brief overview on the concept of control, looking at a number of different theorists' views on control as a process of management. I will then discuss the control the IOC implements on its external stakeholders, and finally the internal control mechanisms imposed by the IOC on its members. However, let me begin by giving a brief description on who the International Olympic Committee are and their role as an organisation. The IOC is a non-governmental, not-for-profit organisation located in Switzerland, who acts as the owner of the Olympic Games. They are responsible for collaborating and assisting with the different members of the Olympic movement to carry out the responsibilities as stated within the Olympic Charter. Some of the roles of the IOC include to encourage and support the promotion of ethics in sport to ensure that the spirit of fair play prevails and violence is banned, to encourage and support the organisation, development and coordination of sport and sports competitions, including the regular celebration of the Olympic Games, to cooperate with the public or private organisations and authorities in the endeavour to place sport at the service of humanity and thereby to promote peace, to take action in order to strengthen the unity and to protect the independence of the Olympic movement, and finally, to act against any form of discrimination affecting the Olympic movement. The concept of organisational control covers a broad scope of contexts and is present within every organisation. Tannenbaum 1962 refers to control as a process whereby an individual or group intentionally affects what another group or organisation does. Byers-Slack and Parent 2012 further suggests that control can be studied across many levels and is highly dependent on the context in which it is set. According to Johnson and Gill 1993, an organisation can control the activities of its members through the design and implementation of control systems and processes. These systems can be differentiated as either outcome, whereby control is based on the provision of reward, for example pay, behaviour, such as rules and regulations put in place to control an individual or group, or social, where the shared beliefs and values of the members of an organisation act as a mechanism of control. For the IOC, control can be categorised in two forms, external control and internal control. External control is concerned with the control the IOC exerts through collaboration with other parties of the Olympic movement. Mason and Slack 2007 discuss agency theory within sporting organisations as a control process. Agency theory relates to a relationship whereby a party, known as the principal, tries to motivate another, the agent, to act in a manner advantageous to the principal. This theory allows different stakeholder groups to be defined in relation to the agency relationships they hold with other stakeholders. The following diagram shows the principal-agent relationships that exist within the Olympic movement. The IOC works closely with the international sports federations to help achieve the missions set out within the Olympic Charter, such as establishing the rules of their respective sports and promoting Olympism and the sporting culture as defined by the Charter. The National Organising Committees, or NOCs, work with the IOC to help develop, promote and protect the Olympic movement in their respective countries. The IOC also delegates the organisation of the Olympic Games to the NOC of the country of the host city. The NOC is then responsible for establishing an organising committee for the Olympic Games, whose job it is to maintain relationships with the public authorities of the host country throughout the organising process to ensure a successful Olympics. These stakeholder groups are an integral part of the Olympic movement. However, these groups are not considered part of the IOC's organisation. Therefore, by examining the agency relationships between the IOC and these stakeholders, we can see the control mechanisms the IOC uses to ensure these agents act accordingly in relation to the procedures set out in the Olympic Charter. Furthermore, Das and Tain 1998 suggests that control provides a source of confidence among partners of a strategic collaboration, such as that demonstrated by the IOC within the Olympic movement. Internal control is concerned with the hierarchical control that takes place within the IOC as an organisation. This looks at mechanisms put in place to control the members of the IOC to act in the way the IOC wishes them to. Returning to the concept of agency theory, Mason and Slack argue that a common agency problem among principal-agency relationships is the ability for the agent to act in his or her self-interest. The consequences of opportunistic agent behaviour are often known as agency costs. It is important for an organisation such as the IOC to put in place mechanisms to reduce these agency costs. Fammer and Jensen 1983 suggested that agency costs could be created through the separation of ownership and control, as is true in the case of the IOC. They suggest that changing the structure of the decision-making processes, for example by creating decision-making hierarchies, would reduce the probability of agents acting in self-interest. In 1998, there was a scandal involving the IOC whereby a number of its members were alleged to have taken bribes from the Salt Lake City Organising Committee in a bid to secure the rights to host the Winter Olympics. Since then, the IOC has introduced a mechanism of control by creating hierarchies within a decision-making process of selecting a city for the Olympic Games. This control mechanism has helped limit the possibility of IOC members acting in self-interest when it comes to future bidding processes, and improving the agency relationships held between the IOC and its stakeholders as previously discussed. The following video also provides an example of how the IOC attempts to control its stakeholders by encouraging the social mechanism of control previously spoken about, by promoting the shared values and beliefs synonymous with the Olympic movement. So, that concludes my vodcast on the concept of control within the context of the International Olympic Committee. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.